Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. This is the last Friday of July that you're here with us, and we're going to go into August this weekend. But thank you, everybody, for joining us for, of course, Tech Talk Friday. And I hope everyone has had a great week. Right now we're all in MCO, so most weeks felt like Groundhog Days. But this week, if you've been following what's been going on in Malaysia, it's been quite a compelling and exciting week, especially for those who are following the parliament. But today, we're not going to be going into politics. No, today, we're going to be talking about tech. So, sorry, we're not going to have that kind of a discussion. So, if you're here to join us for Tech Talk Friday, thank you so much. Make sure you join us either on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube. You choose whichever works best for you. And Tech Talk Friday is brought to you by Necole, the learning experience platform that brings you the ability to accelerate your career, your future, your growth, and also your skills. So if you want to find out more, go on to Necole.app and get your Necole today, whether it's a year or 3 months, and get yourself started on learning. And if you see the crawler below, we've got a little bit of a promo for you, a 30% discount if you use our promo code, which is right there, which is Roshan T Lead 30, and you get 30% off your Necole subscription. All right. Now, if you're here with us on Tech Talk, we keep on saying this, and nowadays we do some teaser episodes before we come on air on Friday. And usually we say that leave your comments already. We're starting to see that happen. So we have a comment here on LinkedIn, and this was a guest we had quite recently, I think a few months back, Dash. So great to see that he says that I will aim to join you in the midst of my run. I'm just trying to imagine that, having your earbuds or earphones on, watching your phone running. Dash, be careful. Please don't bang into anything. You can sit down and watch the show. All right. This is going to be an exciting show because even though the news in Malaysia has been all about politics, but we've actually had some exciting news for now, I think about 3 weeks. And my equal host could not stop himself from saying it over and over again. But it is good news. It is good news indeed. So I think this is a good segue to introduce from Digital News Asia, Mr. Not So Red Today, Kara.
Hi, how's it going?
Bagus. So last week, if you remember, Karam was absolutely red because he's ready to go and get his vaccine. So now he's already gotten his vaccine, recovered from all the side effects, and now he's all scented and poised, all in black, ready to go. So Karam, since you're ready to go, let's go with the pick of the week from Digital News Asia. And the news for this week is about Gogo Pasa, born out of Haslinda alias desire to solve a personal pain point. And so the FGV holding a 52% stake for US 2.37 million 8 months after launched home agent program Gogo Premier to help B40 community. So what is this story about, Karam?
Well, I think Haslinda alias, or she likes to be preferred to be called Lin alias, very interesting because I think this must be a record for a Malaysian entrepreneur. She says that this is the 25th company in which she has had a role as either founder or advisor. 70% of those companies she was a founder, another 30% she was an advisor. 25th Gogo Pasa. And she was actually planning to retire because she started her entrepreneurial career when she was 28. After her last stint, she wanted to retire, but then as a busy executive, she was struck by the fact that it was hard for her to order good quality groceries, online. And so, and this was like obviously in 2019, and she was saying, hey, what's going on? Why haven't we sufficiently solved this problem? And she decided to solve it on her own. And so started working on it, and eventually after launching 8 months, and they wanted to launch low profile and build it up gradually. All of a sudden, the Islamic Development Bank came to them and said, hey, we've got a client that is interested to accelerate their own digital adoption. And we think that you would be a good fit for their intentions. Would you just want to have a conversation with them, right? And ended up being that client was FGV, right? Which is Felda Global, FG, Felda Group, right? Ventures or whatever, FGV. decided to talk to them, and they liked what they saw, and they wanted to use Gogo Pasar as a trigger point, right, to accelerate their digitalization.
Right.
Hey, we want to acquire a stake in you, but the board only was interested if they could take a simple majority. Sometimes when you work with big companies, they say, hey, we cannot take at least that 50.01% and have a say in things. We don't want to come in. And in the end, they end up taking 52% for 10 million ringgit. And I asked, and a lot of entrepreneurs will say, don't give up a majority stake so early on. But Lynn was saying that she felt, after thinking about it, she felt that Felda really did bring a lot to the table besides just the money, right? She could see them working to help accelerate their digital journey. And then, of course, they've got a huge agriculture presence also. And so, hey, I can tap them to bring in, products for my marketplace also, for my fresh produce marketplace. So she decided to let them have the stake lah. And that's how they ended. But after they decided, it still took 7 months lah, like big company and all lah.
Of course.
Before they're able to announce it. So she went in there, and now the business, when they started on their own in 2020 February, they had like 20 or 50 orders a month. And now she told me that they're at like 5,000 orders a month, right? So they've grown dramatically, and she said they've already hit 1.5 million from January till May of this year. So it's kind of cool what she's done, and there's still lots of challenges in growing it out. And I actually hope to invite her to be a guest on our show for next week. I haven't invited her yet, but let's get her on, because this is a tough space. You're competing with big players. Happy Fresh. Right, which is based out of Indonesia, although the founders were in Malaysia when they started it, and they just announced, I think on Tuesday, raising like was it $60 million US? So I think 60 million US, right? So they are now, and they are playing in Malaysia also. So she's got them to compete against. You've got, of course, Tesco, which has been the incumbent, and then you've got everyone has like an e-commerce space in groceries, right? And of course, Grab also with GrabMart.
Yeah.
So it's a tough space to play in and to do well, I think. And we'll just have her on and see what the game plan is.
All right. And I'll be interested if we have her on to ask her, like, she can never stop, can she? It's a bug that keeps on going. No matter how old you get, no matter when you think you want to retire, something will come. 25 different companies that she's been either founder or advisor of. Wow. Okay, that's a track record like no other. All right, so great. If you want to check out that news, go over the Digital News Asia. You can see them in the comments, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Drop by, check out that news. Also, Karam, Eugene Ng wants to say hi to you, Karam. There you go, Eugene. Hi, Karam. I get no highs. Karam only gets highs. I jealous lakuni. But never mind. Today's story, Karam, I think you've been waiting for a while to actually have these two on. And I have to say that I am I said this last week as well.
Right.
I'm a happy customer of theirs. I've used their service before. Very easy. I had a great experience, and for me, that's a testament to why they are where they are right now, because it's proven it works. It has built a cultural foothold amongst everybody. I think everyone should know this name, though I was surprised just now by our producer. We've got to talk to him, Karam, because he actually didn't realize who Carsome was. But I've already said it.
He's a Greenpeace fan. He cycles everywhere, so his carbon footprint is 0.
But anyway, the reason why Karam has been talking about them is because we've been waiting in the Malaysian startup sphere to see if there is any company, let's leave Grab aside because they're not in the so-called not in Malaysia anymore, but any Malaysian company which becomes that quote-unquote unicorn. And they've managed to somehow do it. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a story on how to build a unicorn, and the two people which are going to be talking to us about this is none other than Eric Cheng, Group CEO, and Jiun E. I'm sorry if I mutilated the name. Jiun E. Teoh, or JT, Academy Director of Carsome. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Tech Talk Friday.
Thank you for having us.
No
Hey guys.
problem. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, man. Eric, just made it in time. Otherwise, we were going to bully you last. But since you're already on, no need to. But look, hey, let me just share the picture. I want to give people an idea, right, of the kind of the hustle, right, that you guys went through. So, producer, can we put up that picture? And I think nobody has seen this picture before. I think maybe even Eric and JT may forget the picture, but this is actually the room in which both of them came and made their initial pitch to the angel, to a prospective angel investor, who then agreed to invest in them. So that's how the room is. You know, you can see messy, right? Your projector there, and then you've got the whiteboard at the back, and the projector screen is actually on this other side. And this was actually a room they came and projected. And I think what's interesting is that neither of them knew the prospective angel investor. And Eric actually sent just a cold email to a common address, right, of his holding vehicle, and ended up getting an appointment and going in to see him and to make their pitch then. So that's kind of amazing. So it doesn't mean that you always must know somebody to help you get your foot in the door to at least make your pitch, right? That's a very important point I want to specify, because there's a lot of money out there, and everybody's looking for good people and good ideas to invest in, and this is a perfect example of that.
The other lesson is lesson is don't leave Karam anywhere around you, because he's going to take these kind of photos and put it up whenever he talks to you guys.
So this picture was taken by somebody else, a mutual friend of ours. But anyway, let's get straight into it, right? So this is the thing that strikes me the most. Neither of you has really domain knowledge, right, in the used car business, and yet you decided to go in and into it, and you've become successful building traction. So I want to ask, is having domain knowledge overrated? Because you always hear this should be a key criteria, right? One of those hygiene factors. And then what were the advantages, right, for you not having this domain knowledge? And how fast were you able to acquire the required knowledge to navigate the market?
Yeah, maybe I'll let JT go first. Yeah, go for it, JT.
All right, I think maybe I'll just sort of bring you back, because I just sort of share a story in our town hall last few weeks ago. So maybe just rewind back a little bit and talk about story, how we started, right? So yeah, back in 2014, me and Eric both work in the same company, helping our clients to advertise, digitally. And, the clients that we have that time was mainly automotive clients and top brands like, Honda, Toyota, Volkswagen, Odon, etc., right? So having said that, we basically leverage on the portfolio that we have, and we came up with the automotive website. And the model is to help car buyers to find a new car and being able to compare between the different car brands and models in terms of their pricing, cost of ownership, and as well as reviews. So yeah, we rely on advertising revenue to sustain the business, as we both are pretty well versed in the field, right? So yeah, but from day one, the vision is to really go regional already. When we first started talking about the business, it's always about regional. And to do that, we need to start raising funds to sustain and grow, right? And, that's where we started the journey in fundraising, but we have faced a lot of challenges in finding the right market fit at the same time as well. So I just want to say the turning point, yeah. The turning point for us would be the Tech in Asia event. Karam, we just spoke about it earlier as well, right? So back in that event in Singapore, we've managed to speak
2015, right?
2015, yeah, back in 2015. So yeah, from there we managed to speak with a lot of brilliant entrepreneurs and got a lot of input on how should we relook in our business model. Then this memory is still very vivid to me. I still remember that we made a decision with Eric together in terms of tweaking the business model at Burger King in Changi Airport before we fly back to Malaysia, right? So once we've decided on that, we went back immediately, applied the changes to the business. So after that, Carsome then became a platform that allows car buyer not just being able to compare the brands or models, but customers can also go and opt for price quotation through our website. So yeah, we were sort of like a middleman in between car buyers and car dealers, right? Yeah. So but unfortunately, things didn't really scale as we wanted. However, we also gained another opportunity in unlocking another sector where people are looking to buy a new car. Definitely, they'll be looking to sell or trade in the used car, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, we pivot our business model again, where the chapter of Carsome began in the used car ecosystem. Yeah. So coming back to the question where you whether is it overrated, right? I think it's yes and no, because sometimes being in the industry itself will not sort of give you a blind spot for not being able to identify or realize the problems in within. I just want to share with you as well. Back then when I was trying to sell my product, Myvi, the experience itself was just so unpleasing at all. The car inspection process is just not standardized. Every dealers have their own specific taste or preference on condition. That's why used car pricing are always very inconsistent. And of course, the selling experience is just one of the kind. Yeah. Hence, coming from a third party's perspective, which is entrepreneurs like me or Eric, who possess with no domain knowledge on this, right? We tend to look into the pain points in the market and try to identify what we could do to solve this, and not just for the customers but also for our dealers. And then when we notice there's a huge gap in the industry in terms of transparency, the speed, and the hassle as well you need to perform in buying or selling a used car. So yeah, the initial stage was just all about trial and error, or I can say, we just keep learning, we just keep finding ways to find a right market fit for Carsome. And yeah, it took us about a year, to figure out the right market fit for Carsome, and used car market is the way to go in terms of its potential.
Wow, yeah, okay, cool. But did you all feel that, hey, we got to bring in somebody experienced who can talk the language when we go to the second-hand car dealers? Was that one of your early hires also, to bring in someone that can plug the gap, or you didn't have that? Because that would be natural, right?
Yeah, we did hire the people who are experienced in the market, who is well versed with, because used car industry over here mainly are dominated by Chinese, right? So we need to have like Chinese speakers to be able to deliver the kind of message that we want. Yeah, we did.
Okay, but the downside to that, they will tell you, hey, these two young guys, hey, boss, cannot do like that one. This industry cannot, you don't do that. So, there's the danger of doing that also, right? And you'll say, Eric, I think, hey, JT, better listen to him or her, right? So, did you come across that also? How did you overcome that? Because guaranteed you, this experienced people would have told you some of these things, right? So, how did you have the conviction that we're here to make things better, differently? No, we're going to do it different way. That would take courage, right? So, how about that?
Yep. Let me add on, right? I think we had that same thinking as well. Like, we know nothing about cars. We are coming into the car space and trying to do something, right, that people would like it. I think fundamentally what we both felt is when we go into the market trying to offer the product, we see there are issues, there are frictions in the whole process of buying and selling cars, right? And it's not limited to just consumer. Actually, the dealers, they're also our clients, right? They are buying cars from our platform now. They are also facing issues in procuring cars. So, in essence, like, we go down to the details, right? Like, we want to understand what is your problem right today. We want to help you, but, let us know what are the difficulties, the problems, and we try to bring a solution, right? And I think that approach kind of helps us and in many ways in identifying their pain points. And then in turn, when we design the product, offer our service, it make them better off as well. It benefit them. And then they start using, and then they say, why not, right? And since these two chaps know nothing about cars, offer me something, let's do it, man. And I think soon after they start to like it, and they start to also bring on a lot more people within their network. People start to know us. And that network effect started to kind of spread, right, word of mouth. And of course, it's the same, right? People who sold a car to us, they like it. We just recently, our COO published like a LinkedIn post about our NPS score. It's at 81. The industry standard in US for used car dealer is at 0.
No way. Seriously?
Industry standard. And it's considered pretty okay, right? Like to be 10, 20, but we are 81, right? So I think that's a way that we think about, trying to offer a service that really makes people feel happy about it. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So NPS is, for those who don't know, it's Net Promoter Score, right? So it's a measurement of how your customers, talk about you or your brand or your service, correct? It's not how many media mileage you get and all that, right? So it's your customers reflecting on their interaction with you. So that's priceless. So that's incredible. It's totally stunning. So just quickly before I move on, because when you your discussion with the first time with the angel investor, did you all say we need some market data to go and impress him, right? With how big the market size is, and what do you feel that was the thing that convinced him that I want to take a bet on these two guys, who are not proven? Of course, every young entrepreneur is unproven, right? But yeah.
I think that was really, really interesting meetup, right? I believe that Karam, you were there also in that pitch that I did, and I think one thing that stand out for us, I guess, that I can still recall is that we are tackling a market that's really huge, right? And I think that allow us space to grow, to navigate, to design and improve the product. And I think we've been showing early tractions. So that model that JT was describing was something that we are starting to have in the beginning, and the tractions, the growth, the traffic is all growing very nicely. I think what we found roadblocks at the point of time for that model is that the monetization wasn't really that great, right? And as we scale, it doesn't really bring us to see that this could be eventually become a business model. And then that brought us to the Carsome that you see today. And I think with the angel investor, they saw two guys who are very passionate and trying to build a business, trying to grow it, and the early signs of the business has been showing that, right? The conviction in terms of getting it there. So I guess that would be what sealed the deal, but I'm not sure. You could ask him since you know the angel very well.
Yeah. Okay, so the point is that you had already started before approaching him, so you were able to show some experience, right? This is what we're doing, Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, cool. So, all right, let's just move on to the second question. And I've sent you guys questions, and really, and this is what is really amazing about what you guys do. And it only hit me like 2-3 days ago that it feels like you've executed a masterclass, and in the sense that, and I think TechNote, which is a Chinese-based technology portal, but they're also now in Southeast Asia. They did a comparison between you guys and Caro, right? And they also made the point that you've raised way less money than them. But when I was thinking about it, you've actually raised like less than $100 million US, and yet you've been able to catapult yourself to reaching this state of unicorn. So how much of this strategy was a reflection of the fact that you gave out a lot of equity early on, and and was giving up this equity early on ended up being an advantage to you in terms of how you ran the business? And I may be structuring this question poorly, but so you can just answer that. So the point, I hope you get the point what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Multiple questions in one question.
That's Karam for you.
Yeah. I think to put it very simply, right, we've been very capital efficient in the way we approach the business. We are growing the business that we at the same time want to be very mindful that we are also building a company that can scale with the right way of doing it. And I think as we build a business, in many ways, the way we look at fundraising is how do we reach the next milestone, right? And what does it take for us to do that, from expansion standpoint, to the way we spend on marketing, to the hiring, to the technology roadmap that we need to have to bridge the gap for us to capture the wider market, right? So the end goal remains the same, right? We want to become a market leader. We want to capture like 10% of the entire market share. But this kind of thing it takes time to get there. The job that we have is how quickly we can accelerate and capture that, right? Whether from 10 years span we achieve that, or 5 years, or 3 years. So I think fundraising is the same, right? We look at it in a way that in the next 12 to 24 months, what do we want to do? Where do we want to invest the money to? And I think that explains to the kind of actions that we take in the market, in the way we hire our people. It represents the thinking behind execution. And we are a team that emphasizes a lot on execution. You can ask like JT, right? The weekly meetings that we have is intense. That we talk about metrics, how do we improve, what are the drivers, and then we go and execute, and then we come back next week to repeat that again. So I think that's how we think about the business, and that's why we stay very capital efficient in the way we grow it.
Yeah, but when you talk about execution and being focused, both of you clearly, you look like young, and you're still very young, and you were not senior executives in your previous organization where you led multi-country teams or whatever, right? Very digital savvy, very small. And yet I was struck by even from your Series A onwards, right? Your investors, if people go back and read your announcements, right, when you raise funding, almost always one of the investors will talk about how they were impressed with your management execution. And for very young people, you all were able to do that. And how did that happen, right? Because you cannot say, I watch Anthony Robbins videos or whatever, right? Or Harvard Business videos, and I learned it this way.
Yeah, I think we not so young. We are not that young anymore, to be honest. Like I'm close to 40 soon, so I think yeah, the face kind of is deceiving, right? But ultimately, I think like JT and I, we've been working for quite some time, even before we started the business together, right? So we were colleagues. So and I think in many ways we work in the same division where the chemistry starting to happen, right? We know each other, we click. We think about the approach of doing our work day to day quite similarly, and we excel in areas that we are slightly different, but at the same time when you converge, right, and you make it as a team, it shapes into something even better, right? So and I think we kind of bring that philosophy, that understanding to the way we start the business. From the point we think about the value proposition of the company, what kind of culture we want to build, and how do we grow the team, even down to like the countries that we eventually expand to, like Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore. I think these are the kind of things that we are very quickly able to sync up and discuss and just execute it, right? So we don't sit in the meeting room, spend half an hour and try to debate who is better, but we debate like about okay, what should we do next, right? How do we do it and why, and what are the kind of end outcome we're trying to achieve. And then very soon after, you spend less time in arguing, debating, but you spend more time in things that really make sense in growing the business. And I guess that has been helpful. Like the whole leadership team that we have right now are kind of centered around that chemistry, that culture, very growth mindset. We want to be able to contribute something to the business. How do we not become a bottleneck, right, of the company? And I think that approach is kind of the way we do it. Yeah, JT, I'm not sure if anything to add.
Yeah, I think one thing great about us as a leadership team together, right, is the belief that we have. Every single year, we basically do different things. Yeah, and every single year we challenge ourselves to be better. Every single year we want to achieve different objectives. So if we have that mindset, we just have to make sure that we are achieving that. But how to do it, I think that's the toughest part, right? And how do you craft out the plan? How do you execute it and stuff like that? So I think for us, we always have the belief every single year on where we are moving ahead in terms of the completing our vision that we want to achieve, right? So yeah, I think in terms of the mindset, like what Eric mentioned, right, is really, really strong in terms of, wanting to be together, wanting to make sure that we can be able to achieve things together. So it's not really about who is better, who is weaker, right? It's about a togetherness. So I think that kind of culture has been with us for many years. And I would say that me and Eric both are people who likes to empower our people as well. Yeah, people who being empowered by us can be able to really shine from people who join as an executive and now probably they're already a director, things like that. So we are really, really that kind of person, and we feel that by driving this together with our people, they will definitely also can be able to make us even more powerful. Yeah.
And I'll share with you something really interesting, right? Like I'm an MU fan, right? And JT is a Liverpool fan, right?
Okay.
You would not imagine us, working together when you support a different camp, right? So and I think that sort of endorses the way we think about empowering. Like we want, if you're a striker, you play a striker position. If you're a goalkeeper, you play goalkeeper. But we all work together for the same outcome, right? Yeah.
So Eric and JT, MU and Liverpool. Unfortunately, Karam is nowhere on the fence right now. I don't even know who he supports at the moment anymore. No, it changes from time to time.
Oh, changes.
I was a lifelong MU fan. Then I moved to Man City to stay loyal to Manchester. Then I moved to Liverpool. So
I need to quit this call, this chat now.
Man U fan definitely not gonna like you, Karam. You move to City and you move to Liverpool.
Karam's own words, he supports the winning team. That's his.
No. Life is too short, man. You should appreciate and support the team that you love. But anyway, getting back to this now. Just a quick one on because but how much of a factor of your strategicness with raising money was also the fact that you gave out a lot early on also? Was that that was one of my sub questions. Was that ended up being an advantage because you say, hey, and we enforce you to be much more tactical also and squeeze the maximum you can from what you raise, right? To make sure you're not forced to give out too much. Because some entrepreneurs may be in the same boat, so I want them to see whether that ended up how you turned that into a positive, or you're not strategic about that. It just happened that the money started coming in.
No, I think we take a balanced approach, right? Like every other round that we raise, the kind of dilutions that we take on is quite similar. So we don't go overboard, and we are extremely passionate about the business. So we wouldn't want to dilute too much, but rather we want to invite the right investors. So we wouldn't go and dilute too much of the shares in that to sacrifice to what we want to achieve. Yeah.
Okay. Because I know I got a lot of people calling me when you raised your Series D, right? You went from Series C, 50 million US, which is a combination of a debt. Also, when I saw the debt combination, I thought, this is interesting. They're trying to conserve their equity and not give out. I'm sure your investors would have wanted to take more. And that showed me that that was when I first realized you guys are being very strategic about how you take money and what you want to give out in exchange. And then you're 30 million, but people who see only the number, right? Hey, why they're raising less money? No, it's a down round. So I'm getting people calling me, hey, this is a down round, what's going on? I said, how do I know? They're not going to tell me, right? So ended up being very interesting what has happened. So good, great. Yeah, let's move on to the next question now.
Karam, before you do that, to all our viewers out there as well, just want to quickly let you guys know as Karam goes through the questions, if you have any questions for both JT and Eric, you don't often get them available like this, go ahead, leave it in the comments. We'll try to bring it up as we go through this conversation with them. Yeah, so back to you, Karam.
Okay, so look, they always say that when you want to do something, investors will always ask who else is doing this, right? Especially when you're from Asia, right? Is anyone else doing this? And you got to use a company in the West or in Japan or China, right? And but for you, I'm asking that when you started building the business, was it useful for you to have a competitor in Caro, right, that was trying to dominate in the same space, right, as you? And how did you use this combination to drive and motivate your team? And was it a useful benchmark when you speak to investors also?
Yep, sure. So I think yes, in some way it helps, right, to do benchmarking, and I think the thing is about our business is there's a lot of similar models around the world that we can use as benchmark. I think more so the way we think about this is the market is really large, right? It's really huge. If you think about there's 60 billion US dollar worth of cars being traded. That represent about like
60 billion in where? In globally or where?
Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's huge market, right? Huge market size, millions of cars being traded, exchange hand. And you think about all these cars are being exchange hand right now, this 60 billion. How many of these actually on the digital side? Right? And then you realize that you're less on competing because somebody is doing the same thing as you, but you're more trying to capture the wider market, right? That trying that are not converting yet, right? That are not being educated to there's a better solution out there, which is Carsome, right? So and I think that's where we are heading towards, trying to educate the market. And you have the help of like similar platforms trying to do the same thing as well, maybe slightly different. But I think at the end of the day, the objective is quite similar, right? That we represent the way, the better way of car buying and selling, and in the process of that, also financing, insurance, after sales, so many other things. Like I'll give an example, right? In the industry right now for automotive, especially used car, there's a lack of career path for technicians, right? Yeah. Which means like there's a lot of independent workshops out there that you could work for, but when it comes to what's next, there's nothing, right? So and then that's where that's very interesting about us also, how we are tackling the problem, where JT is representing on the Carsome Academy side, trying to cultivate this, and which you can double click more how we are doing that also. So
Understood. So it's useful, but the way I'm hearing you answer is that the market is just so incredibly large. It doesn't really matter if there's another competitor or two or three trying to do the same thing, because you all are trying to show the market two things. One, there is a better way of doing things the way everyone is doing it now, and we represent one way, right? So. And everyone, I do hear entrepreneurs saying that it's better that there are people in the same space because you're educating the market. And it's a thankless job if you're the only one trying to educate the market, right? So other people being in there actually helps you validate what you're doing also, correct?
Yeah, I think the objective for our company is very simple, right? This year we are achieving $1 billion revenue.
Sorry, US, right?
US, yeah. And how quickly we are heading towards 3, 5, 10. and like, you know, 5-6 is about 10% of the market share, right? And I think that's the goal that we have right now. Like in Malaysia, for context, Malaysia alone right now, the whole car selling platform, the transactions that we're doing is at about 18% of the whole market share. So,
really? Wow.
Yes, yeah. So that's why, you know, we are reaching a point where a lot of people also around us are using our service, recommending to their friends, and that's why I emphasized a lot earlier on the MPS score, because that helps promote even further. And ultimately, that's where I will go. Like, how do we, you know, capture the remaining 72%? Yeah, sorry, 82%. Yeah. But 72% is not that bad also. Yeah. So.
Correct. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. So I didn't ask this question beforehand because I told viewers that I asked you 7 questions. But since you mentioned academy, right? And you know, JT, that is like your passion now. How is that? Is that a differentiator for you in your business model, or that's just part of you addressing a pain point that is ancillary to the market you are addressing?
Yeah. So I think right now you talk about the technical side, right? In terms of Southeast Asia landscape, right? I think there's no proper standard in terms of motor vehicle inspections.
Okay.
So motor vehicle inspection is actually a profession, but the thing is, let's say for example, Malaysia, there's no such thing at all. For example, you talk about light vehicle repairing, assembly, you know, motor engine and things like that. So there's a lot of courses around in the market right now, but there's no such thing as motor vehicle inspection. So I would say that we take this opportunity by being the market leader, and at the same time also we need to set a certain gold standard of our inspection standard, right? That's where we come in. You know, we are basically certified by the government, and we are also the only accreditation center in Malaysia that has the motor vehicle inspection. Yeah, so we provide an SLDM program that gives you an educational training, mostly also in real life job training. So making you ready for the job after you have graduated. So the program itself actually takes 12 months. And basically it's a blended learning of 3 months educational and 9 months on the job. So after they graduated, they can be able to be employed by Carsome immediately. Yeah, so that's how it works, and it will be always like this moving forward, because like I mentioned to you earlier, it's all about tackling the market itself in terms of demand, right? There's so many other automotive brands right now are coming up with their used car you see, and that's where, you know, the demand is right now in terms of finding an inspector. Yep.
Understood. Okay, cool. So but there's a guaranteed jobs, right? I think you're saying you're guaranteed when you graduate, and then there's a cost you have to pay. But if you graduate, means then what you do? What happens to the 18,000?
The class itself for a year is 8,000, and if you basically you basically opt a loan with us, and you go with us for another additional 2 more years, we'll reimburse back the 8,000 to you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful, cool. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question then, which is you know, and you know, I'm struck by this. I think since 2017, when your releases come out and people talk to you, you've been in the same 4 markets, right? And you know, I'm sure there would have been investor pressure to go to another market just to help you paint a sexier growth story, right? So can you share what was the key challenge you had to do, right, to overcome, to accelerate your growth in these 4 markets? And also, if there's anything you want to share about any key traits in these 4 markets, right, that you feel is a differentiator in that market. And then also, before I forget, then Eric, you can take on the second part of this question. You actually, and I think most people forget this, you were in Australia for a while also in 2017, but you shut that down after about 1 year, and I could be wrong with the time frame. What lessons did you learn from that?
Yep. I'll take that first. So Australia was something that we thought, you know, could be useful, right? When we think about expanding the business. So in the early years, we envision the company to be a regional company, right? So multinational, not just Malaysia, and we shortlisted a few, right? So naturally, Southeast Asia like Indonesia, Thailand makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're in Singapore, and then we open up in Australia as well. And of course, you would think that you would guess our plan to go into Vietnam, the Philippines, all these are there. So I think the approach that we took was, you know, having the right partners help us to scale. And we thought Australia at one point was interesting. But I think going back to what we mentioned about, you know, tackling customer pain point, right? So I think what we see in this Southeast Asia market is a lot more similar in terms of dynamics, like the process, infrastructure, like Indonesia, Thailand, when you compare to Malaysia. is a lot more similar, right? I think Singapore is an outlier, so like expensive cars and very little car volume as well. So and naturally, when you look at the way we think about the business growth, we want to be focused, right, in countries that make sense, because those countries has a very large market for us to continue grow. And we find ourselves stretching too much, going into Australia, not knowing the market condition too well. And I think there was sort of a misstep that we took after 3-4 months. Then we immediately pull out, right? And then the focus went back to Southeast Asia countries, and we continue to focus in those areas. So I think the question would be, whether we are going into like the next country like Philippines, Vietnam, the rest of Southeast Asia countries, even into other countries within Asia, right? So I think we are trying to explore, but I think the situation of like with the pandemic is not really helping us too much as well. So I think then the strategy has become very focused in the markets that we're in, but at the same time expanding horizontally, offering more services. And hence you saw us launching the B2C business, selling cars directly to customers using a retail e-commerce format. And then in the process of that, financing, insurance, warranty, all attached to the car sales. So I think that's where the strategy, kind of changed from a land grab basis to now more of a horizontal, capturing more revenue through 1 or 2 transactions.
Okay, makes sense. Now, for those 4 markets, can you share any outstanding characteristic maybe of each market that you've learned about, just to share with readers if there is any?
Sure. So I think the localization has always been the key, right, in order for us to scale. And I think the biggest difference that we always seen since day one was the devices that we use to go online, right? I think in Malaysia, there's a lot of things that's still happening through desktop, laptops. So, and I see that cascade into the user behavior of our users, right? So there's a good split between 50-60% of them using desktop and the rest using mobile. And then you see a huge mobile skill users, right, when it comes to like Indonesia. So I think that kind of brings to the way we think about developing product as well. Mobile first, or we go with something like more desktop, laptop basis, web based, right? So I think that detect the way we think about the product innovation to roadmap. Marketing message is another one, and marketing channel. Facebook, Google, digital marketing works very well in countries like Malaysia, even Thailand. But Indonesia, you need to complement it with like offline activities like event, billboards, even at times TV, radio, and things like that, right? So, and different age group has different type of channels that is effective to them. Like TikTok is going to be one of those things that we don't use much, but actually a lot of users are actually spending time consuming content there. And then again, it's not the kind of same ad format you want to show them. You can't show them a banner. You can't show them a display banner. You need to show them a video that fits into the TikTok framework. And I think that's where the localization is at its like best, right? That you look at country perspective to culture to the distribution channel to the message you need to bring.
So that always you got to constantly look at it, and because they say digital marketing you can never rest, right? The platform's always tweaking the algorithm, and you got to stay on top of this, right? And user behavior. So it's like that's like a whole big science and art at the same time. Okay, just key thing. I heard you say Australia literally after 4 months, and in the back of my mind, some listeners will be saying, hey, that's too short a time period. How were you able to be so decisive? Or sounds like maybe you were doubtful about going into Australia in the first place and then quickly realized, it's not working. Because 4 months is a very short time. So I don't know whether to be very impressed with that or surprised by that. So, how were you able to be so decisive after 4 months?
Yeah, I think we both are very impact driven, right? When we go into a market, we want to develop things really quickly. And as soon as we found that it's not as useful for the local audience, then we kind of think that it doesn't work anymore. And we have very limited times, right? So we also didn't have enough time to invest into that. Yeah, but JT maybe has more to add.
I mean, most of all, we also have to spend a lot of time in terms of finding the right people to run the market, right? Yeah, I think that's one of the key things that we are struggling with at the same time, trying to find the right people. Then when we go over there, at the same time, Australia, we were in Perth, right? So I think that's like a very peaceful kind of environment for everybody, you know. And then we just feel like, you know, for us both, when we are in the market, we are like aggressive young people, right? And then we feel like, okay, maybe this is not the market for us to try out first. That's why I think the reason why we cut it off so fast, because we know that the time that we can spend, we can be able to spend it on the markets that we are in and make it better. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Right,
Okay,
right.
great.
And Karam, before you go on, there's just on that note from Eva Lim, there's a question coming up. So if you could put it up, Sashi, but I'll kind of make that question shorter for you. Is there any future plans ever at some point? Because you're mentioning that you're very hyper focused on the type of market you want to go into and the type of business that you want to do. Would you ever think about going into markets like Australia again, some point in the future? Or are you going to stick to your guns as in Southeast Asia, the market which actually allows you to do what you're doing right now?
Yep. So I think we would definitely explore, right? If there's a reason for us to do that, and we find that this would be, you know, helping and establishing further growth, right, as we enter the market, we definitely would go all into it. So it's a question that we would need to find an answer. I think internally we are figuring out the answers for the questions within Southeast Asia right now. So less on like Australia, for example, but we just need to find that reason why we should go in, and we'll go.
Okay. So look, talking about Australia, right? Your iCar deal is fascinating, right? So, and now you've got Patrick Grove, you know, and his magic in your corner, which is amazing. So, and it's really vaulted you to the forefront of investor and public eye, and I would argue even globally. So, can you share the backstory, please, if you can, right? How much as possible you want to, as to how this happened. And does this, obviously everyone is conjecture, especially those in the financial space, right, in the startup funding space, there's conjecture that this is going to pave the way for you for your eventual US listing, and, you know, on the back of maybe Patrick Grove's the spec. So can you address this?
Sure. Yeah, I think we spoke to each other, you know, quite a bit of times, like multiple times before, you know, this actually happened, right? So that, but we didn't go really deep into the way we think about, you know, combining or us, you know, getting this deal done. So it's only until like I think a couple of months back that we started to talk about this, right? And find it makes a lot of sense for us to do this together. Partly because the way we think about the business right now is we want to create an end-to-end experience, right? You heard me talk about, you know, buying, selling, there's financing, there's even the after-sales support, right? And how we structure this, how we conceptualize this is the mission of the business right now is trying to be in every part of the car ownership journey, which means today if you own a car, your relationship, you know, let's say you buy on from Carsome, it doesn't stop there. It continues to follow you through. We support you on after sales. If you need renewal or insurance, we come in. So all of this thing is the way we think about the business growth right now. And we believe that this acquisition, you know, these two platforms combining, integrating together would help us accomplish that. Right. So the end-to-end experience, reducing the frictions altogether. I think we are clear about that, and hence, you know, the conversation started, and, you know, very quickly turned into the news that you saw. And that's because we all find it makes sense. We're very excited about it. And the plan for company is always to go, you know, public in the next, you know, 12 months or so. And I guess the options are all on the table, right? It could be IPO, it could be SPAC. We're not fixated towards having one options. It's good to have optionality, right? So, and I think that's how we approach it. We want to be ready for going public. We want to be a company that can beat earning costs, beat guidance, and you know, people feel happy about business performance. As soon as we are, you know, get ourselves ready for all the corporate governance stuff, including this, then I think that's where we will go.
Oh, okay, interesting. Wow, that's a lot. So you got Patrick Grove now suddenly active on Twitter, which people are saying, hey, Patrick is not active on Twitter. Now he suddenly is, and he's talking about Carsome becoming the Amazon, delivering an Amazon-like experience. So, I mean, suddenly it's like, you know, when you compare you with Amazon, suddenly the expectations are incredible, and I was struck by that. So obviously the two of you have got some seriously, or the three of you, sorry, have got some seriously deep and serious heavy plans, you know, out there for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think the entire team at the back of like you know, Carsome and iCar, we are all quite excited about this, and
exactly.
Yeah, so we are quite deep in that to try to realize all of this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So look, I know we're running down over time, and I don't want to constrict you, but I got two more questions. and Eric and JT, right? I know both of you are in Endeavour Malaysia, and I'm just wondering whether that was possibly was it any trigger point for you to have exposure to mentors who have done it before and are way more experienced and giving advice that you can respect and take. And I ask that because we've had even entrepreneurs on this show who said that if they had very good or experienced mentorship earlier, they feel they would have done better. So how important was this mentor? And it may not come from Endeavour. So I just want to ask you about that.
Yeah. So I think between the both of us, we have always been practicing the paid forward mentality, right? When people ask us questions, want us to share experience, we are always very happy to share.
Very good.
And I think that's because there's a lot of people who help us along the way to get to where we are right now. Every other year is like a graduation, from 1, from 2, from 3. You do different things, but you are trying to graduate, right? So, and there's a lot of mentors along the way. And I think the way we think about this is we just want to pay it forward. And while we are doing that on the side, of course, Enable reach out, and I think that was very helpful because there are organizations that preach that same thinking, right? And that help structure provide a more structured approach when it comes to mentoring, to the whole pay it forward thing. And I think that was something that I kind of embraced at the same time to see how we could do a lot more of that. And it was amplified through the organization. So yeah.
Okay. Are both of you Endeavour entrepreneurs, or is only one of you? I'm not sure.
Only me. So only me. Yeah.
So okay, fine. So look, I'll just jump to my last question then, right? Unless there's some from the audience side, right? And you mentioned this earlier in your management meetings, right? So how data driven is your management style, right? And I ask this because I think somebody who used to be a direct report to Anthony Tan from Grab says that the early morning huddles, right, had like a checklist of 18 or maybe 20, right, different metrics you will go through. And that was actually a very good thing. This person said to center them, the leadership team, right? Hey, we got to make sure what's going on with this, and if something is falling behind, you need to know why so that you can answer in the morning. So are you that data driven also, and is that a good or bad thing? I don't know.
Totally right. I think the whole company is very data driven. Like we are very data centric people, because if you look at the business, ask a very simple question: how do you differentiate a used car out there, even though it's the same age, same model, same color, right? So the whole industry is driven by data. If you want to be able to differentiate all of these different assets, different cars, right? So, and it's not just about doing that, but at the same time being able to assess car condition, knowing whether it's excellent or poor. At the same time, how do we increase the conversion gain, the efficiencies, and I think all of these are concepts of data, right? So which means that in the way we try to make decisions, the way we have our meetings, we always try to use data to see whether we are delivering an impact. And like, for example, I think JT can touch more on the academy, right? Last year, pandemic, we had like a really, really bad 2 months lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And business are all gone. Zero revenue. But at the same time, we realized there's a lot of inefficiencies in the business. And that's where academy came in to educate and bring the whole business up, train from different divisions. Yeah. And you see that brought us a very impactful result. Like in July, when business market reopened, we recovered 70%. August, we are exceeded a record-breaking month. September is another 40% of the month of August. So
wow.
that is based on the way we understand the insights that we get from data and how it shaped into the decisions of having academy and eventually bringing the success to the business recovery. So yeah.
Okay, cool, great. Okay, JT, do you have anything else? Because then I will let Nigesh wrap up.
Yeah, I think that's all. Yep.
All right. I'm sorry, gentlemen, that we ran.
Sorry. When you go for listing, let's say when you go, so Eric, sounds like you're ready to be the CEO of a listed company in the US, right? It's bloody brutal out there. They're like, it's a jungle, man. So it looks like you are ready for that. I'm quite intrigued. But JT, are you also ready, to be on the front lines like that, when you all go for listing eventually? And I assume everyone's assuming it's going to be a US. You may do a dual listing, I don't know, but are you ready for that, JT, also?
I think at the end of the day, when we first started this business itself, we know what we want to be, what we want to achieve, right? And we have the opportunity to achieve such status, such meaning such status. I think this is where we need to be able to embrace it. Yeah, that's where I think, and no one can think about being a unicorn just like that sometimes, right, in your life, right? But when you have that, I think more importantly is how we embrace it and how we enjoy the journey of this whole Carsome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wait, a quick one. Sorry, one more. Are you and your investors may not like this? Are you already planning to be angel investors yourself, or not yet? You're going to hold on for a while.
I think yes and no at the same time. We would try to be able to invest and help more companies. But at the same time also, I think we are quite stuck with the business.
Yeah,
easy with it. Yeah. So of course we'll do everything right that we could to help the businesses out there.
Wonderful. I'm really glad to hear both of you say that, to help your fellow entrepreneurs out there or those who want to be entrepreneurs. Fantastic. Okay, Nigesh.
Right. I'm going to bring in moderator power and Karam off at this point already, off mic already. Okay, so thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I've just got something quick to just end the show with, and I think I'll answer Karam a little bit with his question. Ready, not ready, have to be ready. I think for the aspirations you guys got, that's the Malaysian saying right there. But quickly, just there's a question from Aziz, who's one of the viewers or one of our common viewers as well. Thank you, Aziz, for joining us every time we run these shows. Maybe that last bit there, because this whole conversation about unicorn, let's bring it back down to it. How does it feel? How does it feel right now that you guys are being touted with that word? Carsome is being touted as a unicorn. How does it feel for you guys?
Probably each of them feels 2 inches taller now.
Yeah, but the con there. Yeah, JT, you go first, man. Yeah.
Okay, I think for me, right, definitely it's overwhelming, right? I mean, when we first heard this kind of advancement and progress that we have done here, but for us, we just never stop going. We just never keep going. I think that's very important, because even though you have achieved such unicorn status, but what's next? There's so many more things that we can be able to build moving forward and to contribute to the society, to create more impactful and meaningful stuff to society, right? I think this is where we can be able to continue to provide. And I would say that, of course, whatever that we have experienced, we want to also share with the people out there. How is our journey like? It's always, for me, I always like to share. Yeah, I don't mind sharing on how things are like, and how tough things are. But
yeah, how tough.
Yeah, but eventually, I think it's all about the mental. You have to make sure that you are always ready, and just keep going. I mean, life will bring you to whichever point of juncture, right? I think you just have to appreciate it and enjoy the fullest.
Right. Eric, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, like we say this before, right? Within like the town hall, like our initial bank account password for the company is 20 million, right? So that was how small the dream was,
Right.
And I think it's like to us is no longer like how far we can go and whatnot. I think it's a lot about the potential that we are seeing from the platform. How can we grow the business? What kind of company this would be? How do we make a lot more entrepreneurs taking this as a example to try to grow their companies, and even internally, how do we have our people eventually also start their own company, right? So
nice.
I think that's the kind of thing that we want to see, which we are seeing a lot of talents are actually coming out from Malaysia, from Indonesia, from Thailand. We can make great things, and we are trying to do that. So yeah.
All right. I think that idiom is the more you give, the more you get kind of thing. And one thing very, very refreshing that I'm hearing, especially in this conversation from the both of you, even though that status of unicorn is an evaluation thing, but you guys never really spoke much about numbers, figures, but you're speaking a lot about what is the problem in the market, the solution you want to bring in the market, the type of company you want to grow, the type of culture you want to build for the people, all very driven by that purpose. And I think that's what is bringing you from one milestone to another milestone to another milestone to another milestone. And I'm really, really curious to see where this is going to go. And again, I mentioned this at the start of the show. I am a happy customer of yours. I went through the experience. I had a great experience. I want to say thank you to both of y'all for actually bringing Carsome to us, because honestly, it was for me, it was a great experience, and I hope everyone else had that great experience. So if you want to find out a bit more about Carsome, there's also their website. Remember, www.carsome.my, and also don't forget the Academy,
Academy.
which is www.academy.carsome.my to find out more about both. All right. Okay. So great. Just before we kind of end the show, just to let everybody know, if you want to find out more about the news in the world of tech, go drop by Digital News Asia, find out more there. And for those of y'all who are out there who want to find out how the showrunner, Necole, works for your company, go on to Necole.tech and find out more how it can help your organization. And at the same time, I've been running this plea for everybody out there, especially for small enterprises who may be going through a bit of a rough patch at the moment. There's a survey we're doing. We're doing this survey because actually it's already starting us on an initiative that we hopefully can announce sometime soon. An initiative that we want to bring to all of you guys, especially to help SMEs out there, not just on the side of education, but how you can get the solutions to the problems that you have. So do us a favor, drop by, use that link, drop us that survey. Your thoughts and the data that you give us is going to be really important for how this initiative is going to help you guys. So on that note, I want to say a big thank you to both JT and Eric, knowing that you guys are super busy. Thanks for joining us for this full hour here on Tech Talk. And also, of course, Karam, my equal host. And both of us want to say all the best, Godspeed, and good luck to both of you guys. We're just super curious to see where this journey for Carsome is going to
keep giving us exciting stories to talk about.
Exactly.
Will do. Thank you.
And so all Malaysians out there, stay safe, everybody. Get vaccinated. We'll be out of this doldrum soon. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy weekend, everybody.
All right.